Leveling New York City, perhaps? Or sinking the Rock of Gibraltar?
Would you be willing to meet with the group of scientists I'm calling together? Perhaps you could explain your mission to them, and they in turn could present it to their various peoples.
That's why I came to see you.
It is not enough to have men of science. We scientists are too often ignored or misunderstood. We must get leaders from every field, the finest minds in the world.
I leave that in your hands.
One thing, Mr. Klaatu. Suppose this group should reject your proposals. What is the alternative?
I'm afraid there is no alternative. In such a case, the planet Earth would have to be eliminated.
Such power exists?
I assure you, such power exists.
The people who come to the meeting must be made to realize this. They must understand what is at stake. You mentioned a demonstration of force.
Yes.
Would such a demonstration be possible before the meeting?
Yes, of course.
Something that would dramatize for them and for their people the seriousness of the situation. Something that would affect the entire planet.
That can easily be arranged.
I wouldn't want you to harm anybody or destroy anything.
Why don't you leave it to me? I'll think of something.
Maybe a little demonstration.
Something dramatic, but not destructive. That's quite an interesting problem. Would the day after tomorrow be all right? Say about noon.
Hello and welcome to Still Watching the Skies for June 2025. I'm Robert Reineke.
I'm Nathaniel Morel.
I'm Cody Lang.
Every month we explore the lesser discussed science fiction movies of the past. Some famous, some obscure, some good, some bad, all which we believe will create interesting conversations. That brings us to this month's film, 1951's The Day the Earth Stood Still, which was directed by Robert Wise, a past favorite of this podcast. I picked this month's film, so I'm going to give our listeners a short synopsis and some key facts, and then we will kick off our discussion. The Day the Earth Stood Still is based off of a short story, Farewell to the Mask by Harry Bates, from a 1940 issue of Astounding Science Fiction. In the film, a flying saucer lands in Washington, D.C. The pilot, Klaatu, steps out to deliver a message. But before he can say anything, a trigger-happy private wounds Klaatu, mistaking a gift for a weapon. Immediately after, the imposing robot Gort steps out and shows that he has potential to take out the surrounding army. But Klaatu calls off Gort, who becomes an immobile guard while Klaatu is taken for medical treatment. Klaatu soon escapes and takes up residence in a local boarding house under the identity of Mr. Carpenter. He befriends a young boy named Bobby Benson and his widowed mother, Helen. While hiding from the government, Klaatu aims to make contact with the eminent Professor Barnard to communicate his message to the world, if he's not discovered and turned over to the government first. The Day the Earth Stood Still was directed by Robert Wise. The screenplay is by Edmund North, based on Farewell to the Master by Harry Bates, cinematography by Leo Tover, edited by William Reynolds, and music by Bernard Herrmann. The cast includes Michael Rennie as Klaatu, Patricia Neal as Helen Benson, Hugh Marlowe as Tom Stevens, Helen's boyfriend, Sam Jaffe as Professor Jacob Barnard, Billy Gray as Bobby Benson, and of course, how can we forget Frances Bavier as Mrs. Barley, the owner of the boarding house. So that's the basics of the film. Well, I turned it over to Dan, who seems to really want to get started on this. So take it away, Dan.
Well, I first want to see if our AI assist can take my intro of this episode and compare it to the relevant portions of your intro and see how much of a percentage I got right.
Well, I will be sure to turn that over to you, Nat, for
And
detailed analysis.
maybe it'll give me bonus points for mentioning the previous Robert Wise film that we've done in this podcast, The Andromeda. But this,
Yes.
I think, is this the first time for all of us seeing this?
Oh, no.
Oh,
I've seen
okay.
it before.
Okay.
I've never seen it.
Okay.
I think I've seen it all the way back in Laserdisc days.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
Yeah. I'm pretty familiar with the imagery, though.
Yes, same here. And I have seen clips of it. I knew the general premise of it going in and the principles and kind of the message of that. So I'm coming from a little biased, or I guess a high expectation, high familiarity perspective. And I enjoyed it. I know this is regarded as a landmark of science fiction films, and I think definitely for 1951, this is very groundbreaking. I think it's something where it is a little bit, it's tough to appreciate now because I think a lot of the ideas, concepts, and direction that it takes have been absorbed by so many other science fiction movies now that the impact of it can be lost. And so I found myself kind of looking, maybe paying more attention to a lot of the inconsistencies or maybe like nitpicks within the overall plan of Klaatu and even the dynamics of like how Gort works. So I do have a lot of scientific questions I do plan to ask Robert about.
okay.
But and I think overall too, I think the idea of aliens kind of talking about how we potentially could destroy ourselves with the technology that we have is something that is so common in so many of the films that came after it, and I think even so many of the films we've covered for this podcast, that I did want more from it. And I got the general idea of it, and I really wish that it had built more on that idea or explored some nuances of that idea. They do bring up some interesting things, like talking about how the logistics simply wouldn't work to get all the world leaders in one place so that he can deliver his message. But overall, I wish there was a little bit more meat to it. But I also do think the performances are really, really well done. I like Michael Rennie. He, I think, does a really good job of playing somebody who comes across as erudite, but also I think there's some condescension and definitely some imperfections in his performance of Klaatu, which I like. And I really like Patricia Neal in everything. I really like Sam Jaffe. And again, I think for a lot of the things that they're talking about, especially, the line of delivered with utter dead seriousness of you have to say this to Gort, Klaatu, Barada, Nikto. And I think even Patricia Neal said that like she could not help but laugh at saying that multiple times. And Michael Rennie, who is British, would come back at her and just kind of say in a very, very polite way, do you plan to deliver it like that? But no,
little does he know that Bruce Campbell would make the line his own.
I know. I mean, even that line has such a life after this film. I think the special effects are pretty solid. I don't think they go too much overboard on a lot of them when they're needed to deliver. They're competent, but I think that wisely keeps things fairly grounded and doesn't really try to wow you too much with spectacle. Like I think he really wants to get into some of the ideas and potentially like some simple tricks that you can do without special effects, but still convey a sense of wonder, like turning the power out. And the music, I think, is absolutely fantastic. And even before I knew it was Bernard Herrmann, just the opening of this film and kind of the score that goes with the opening of this film is very resonant. And I did not know coming into this Bernard Herrmann did the music, but I think that is solid. And I'm surprised I've not heard that talked about more in discussion of it. But those are just some initial thoughts. So I can toss it over to Cody.
Hey guys. As I said, I have never seen this movie before. I thought it was, I guess I think a bit differently. I don't think the special effects were great, especially with the robot. The ship was cool. I think of it more as like soft science, or what's like the term like that Ursula K. Le Guin used for her types of books, where like it was trying to get across like a social idea. It's less
Hmm.
about like a scientific, like it was less like it is hard sci-fi, but it is really about like I'm actually surprised this film got through um the censors because it is pretty critical of like, and maybe it's because it's pointing fingers at the entire world and not just the US, but it's basically saying, um like the amount of conflict between countries is like a huge impediment. And the alien guy, he really only connects with a child, seemingly because the child hasn't become like jaded or mature, so that like he sort of is like picking sides, like he's like the kid is just like he's just curious and he's a kid, but anytime he interacts with an adult, aside from the scientist and the children's mom or the child's mom, like a lot of what he says just falls on deaf ears. And it is like so I'm not saying it's bad because of this, but this is what I liked about it. Like it's more about like a commentary on just geopolitics. It's not like that deep or anything, but it does. And it doesn't really call anything out specifically, but it is, to me, kind of clear at this time that it's like there is a lot of tensions in the world between East and West, as there is today still. Like we just had like a weekend of like bombing in the Middle East. Um, and I don't know if I fully, on the other hand, I don't know if I fully buy the idea of this alien race about how they've basically given up all of their powers to this robot
Hmm.
force so that they can just kind of police everyone. Like that seems to be kind of a
Dystopian.
well, it seems to be just
Yeah.
a crazy idea. Like just to be frank
Hmm.
about it, like I don't think you would ever want to do that, but whatever. Um, but yeah, like it does seem to be like written from the point of view of someone who is concerned about escalating tensions in the world, potentially nuclear powers fighting, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, and I am actually surprised that it got through the censors. Like maybe it was I haven't read the story. Maybe the story was a bit more upfront about it. But
Well, the story is not about uh, making peace at all.
oh
Hmm.
really? Oh okay. So that's a Robert Wise maybe screenwriter, whoever's wrote the screenwriter for this.
Edmund North.
Edmund,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So because at this time, like you could get stuff past the censors pretty easily. Like a lot of the, like a lot of the greatest Hollywood films that I think are really critical and political came out at this time, but but they were doing so in more symbolic and more like clever ways. Like they weren't on the nose. And so I think like this sort of like blacklist period, which this was in, like yeah,
Hmm.
like you could get these ideas through fairly easily, but I still felt like it was quite on the nose. Like it was at a time where I don't think American leaders or Canadian leaders even would have thought like, oh, maybe we should put the foot off our gas a bit with an arms race. Like
Hmm.
both of our countries were very concerned about threats from abroad. And I do
Yeah.
appreciate the idea that they're putting forward, but I don't know if it does get undercut a bit because of just the idea of like what the alien is talking about, like how all the other planets behave. Like yes, it sounds great that you can avoid, political conflicts, and then you just spend time like, pursuing knowledge and whatever. But obviously, like if you were to stop to think for it a second, like, oh, do we really want to give like ultimate power to some like other force that we can't control, Um, but yeah, like aside from that, I did really like like the flow of the film. Like I liked how the guy spent time with the child for like the middle part, and that informed his like assessment of the human race. Um, I did think it was sort of smart and realistic that the first thing that like we would do is like shoot at him. Um, so yeah, there was that. That I thought
I
was
think we had just a trigger happy private there, not really
Yeah.
rewarded to it. It was just like it was an
no, but
accident,
like
but
no, but if this actually
yeah,
happened, like I don't know, like I don't know, I
yeah,
don't know, I honestly don't know like how we would react. Like there's other films that
yeah.
kind of broach
I
this.
do
Like
I do find it very believable.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And but yeah, so I thought special effects wise, I thought the robot was was a bit crappy, but it is 1951. They weren't having much to go off of in terms of like other films that did this kind of thing.
yeah. I
But
mean,
I thought the ship was cool, like the way that the sort of
Mhm.
like
mhm.
doors opened and it was like a very like smooth and seamless looking
Mhm.
aircraft. Like that was a cool idea.
Yeah, and the way that it does actually have a shadow that it kind of sets the stuff down, and I think that's a nice little realistic touch that it has too.
Yeah. What year was War of the Worlds again? Was that
53.
oh, so that was right
53.
after this. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think that while I agree that the robot is crude compared to what would come later, I feel like the only real robot before it is from Metropolis.
Well, you have
Yeah.
And they have
recent,
some in the Republic serials as
yeah,
well.
like what Phantom Creeps or something like that. But I it may not look good, but it's also credit that this is an image that has lasted for 74 years. Like
Yes, that's true.
Gord at least is like has a very
Yeah, that's true.
memorable look to
Yeah,
it.
I think the eye really sells it too.
Hmm.
I mean, it really seems to me that he's kind of like a forerunner for Cyclops from the X-Men.
Yeah, or Boba Fett,
Yeah,
Terminator.
or just that
Well,
idea too that like that area of vision is greater than ours. Like he could theoretically see 360 degrees, whether that's intended or not.
yeah.
It does kind of give that sort of extra sense or
hmm
sense of like something always being able to watch you.
Yeah. Yeah, so overall like I was trying to get into the mindset of, seeing it in the 50s, so I didn't feel like it was terribly um like I wouldn't say it's overrated. Like I would say it's better than some of the other uh sci-fi from the 1950s I've seen. But
it's certainly smarter than some of it.
yeah, but yeah, like I do like that they did kind of put in like this. Like it's not a big part of it, but like the romance or like the failed romance between the mother and um like the suitor, and there's this really cool part where like they go to the graves of the veterans, and so you get the idea that, oh yeah, this kid's dad died in World War II, or
Hmm.
Yeah, which is
and
not that far earlier.
yeah, and so there is like this idea that like, yeah, there is a cost to war, And like you're seeing the cost, like this kid doesn't have a dad. He's got this jackass who's trying to date his mom, and then throughout the film, like you kind of see that guy's true colors come out. Like he's basically, he just cares about money um and it's like they could have made it a bit more, Hollywood and have her fall in love with the robot. And I'm glad they didn't. Like, or sorry, not the robot, the
That'd be
alien.
it. That I would definitely watch that movie.
Yeah. But like it was kind of hinting at that a bit, but it didn't really go over. And
Yeah.
I like that they didn't, lean too much into it.
I mean,
Like
she
all they
likes
did.
him, but there's never really a hint of romantic interest.
No, but there is some jealousy from the guy where he says, "I'm tired of hearing about this, guy all the time and stuff." And
Well,
I'm sure if like,
maybe if he would spend some time with the kid.
well, it's true, yeah, yeah, exactly. And but yeah, like if he was there for longer, like I'm sure it would develop into that where he is competing with, whatever. But it's not that kind of story, so. Um, but there was enough of that to show like the difference between this guy's point of view, this alien's point of view, which is, cast as more enlightened, and the other guy who's, trying to just make some money off of this thing. And yeah, they are blunt about it. Like the guy is an insurance salesman, so you kind of have this stereotype of like a salesman type guy.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, like I do I didn't see the remake. I was kind of wanting to watch it just to see what they do differently. I think it would probably suck. Um,
That's the critical reputation of it.
yeah, like but yeah, I'm curious what they would do with it. Because there's other remakes from the 50s I haven't minded. Um, but yeah, so Robert, you've seen this before then, right?
Yeah, not in a while, but I had seen it
Yeah.
before. So, I mean, the beats were, but I mean, my main things are it's very well paced. I
Hmm.
mean, it gets right in, the Klaatu rut lands within the first 5 minutes, and things take off from here, and it's done in 90 minutes. It's a very, very tight 90 minutes. It has some big ideas, and I think the cast is pretty exceptionally good. I mean, you have Patricia Neal, and she's very good at it. I think Michael Rennie is good. He gives it enough of a air of reserve, but he's also charming enough, I guess, or likable enough anyhow. Sam Jaffe as the professor is very very good. I think he hits just the right note. And in the kid, Billy Gray, he will. I guess he's probably most famous for My Three Sons. He was one of the three sons, so he's very good there. He's a good actor for his age. I'm not so
Also, proof that every male child in the 50s was named either Billy or Bobby.
That's true. I'm not so crazy about Hugh Marlowe as the insurance guy. I mean, he's fine, I guess, but I mean, he's pretty obvious. It's hard to see what Patricia Neal ever saw in him. He kind of hits that one note that he's not very sincere or genuine, and just interested in the money. So it's hard to think that they had a long term thing going on. Um, and it's kind of fun to see Aunt B in another role, but um, I mean, but I think the cast is good. I think it looks good. It's not too many special effects in there, but I think the special effects they do have are well done. The music is good. The cinematography is good. It's very tightly edited and paced. So I mean, it's hard to complain about it. I mean, we really have to dig deeper. I think to really come up with complaints because I'm not real crazy about kind of the ultimatum thing. The elimination of kind of free will or democracy seems to be a problem with it, and I I would I think it's very clear that there's kind of a religious parable going on here because Mr. Carpenter is a pretty uh, clear
direct reference.
direct reference. Well, pretty. It's not. I can't say it's on the nose. I mean, his name's not Jesus or something like that, but it's close. Um, it's hard to get much more on the nose than Mr. Carpenter, but I think it kind of works. And Mr. Carpenter comes back to life.
Yeah.
Well, Major
Well, he could be called
Carpenter,
John
too.
Connor.
Yeah, Jack Connor. Maybe his name was like Jim Carpenter.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like all of that, and I think the production is good. Not a ton of special effects, but they're good. I mean, the high location shooting is good. Cinematography is good. I mean, we got memorable imagery both with the saucer and Gort, so it's hard to go wrong there. I feel like that him solving the equation on the chalkboard feels like something like Goodwill Hunting pulled from.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
So it's kind of like it didn't quite affect. It affected more than just science fiction films. So I feel that's a good sign for a movie like this, that it's not only a effect on science fiction movies, but just regular dramas too. And yeah, I mean, I think all of that is strong and good. I mean, I really have very few complaints about it. I mean, maybe it would be nice if he had some device for him that can magically open doors, but I'm willing to roll with it. But other than that, I mean, I think it's really strong and quick, and I like the idea of Gort as the Old Testament God, that when he gets to unleash, he unleashes. So, and I feel like it is well positioned because this is still at the beginning of the Cold War, or near the beginning. It's before um, Russia had the H bomb, so it's maybe it
Yeah.
wasn't looking so dire at that time, so that's maybe why they could get away with it, because America had all the power, or most of the power anyhow,
Yeah.
at this point. So I feel that was one of the ways they got around it, and I
Well,
did
they
read the
have
short.
been would they have been in Korean War right now?
It's be real close.
Right around, I think,
Yeah.
was that 50 to 53?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
So
really just like a post World War II film then. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's not quite Cold War. I mean, the tensions are there. I mean,
Yeah.
the film references that there's a lot of conflict and
Yeah.
distrust in the world. So, I mean, they're not hiding it.
Well, and there is a part where like they're at dinner at the boarding house and they're saying like, "Oh, like who is this alien? Who is this?" And then this one old lady's like, "Well, I know where this person's from." Like kind of implying like, "Oh, it's a Russian spy or
Yeah.
something."
Mhm.
I mean, it's certainly like the Red Scare is starting to percolate.
Yeah. It
Although
is
I don't
funny
know
when
how.
they show Russia though in the film, they're like a bunch of peasants still.
Well,
Like,
this is also while Stalin is still alive too.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I have a friend who's from Russia, and every time we watch, like I recall when we watched movies together, and he would always comment about how he just hates how North American films represent Russia. Like he's always like, "Oh, come on."
Well, he hasn't seen anything. If he's seen this, he hasn't seen anything. We've done a lot worse.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's just
I mean,
funny.
yeah, they were industrialized it. I read the short stories. I don't think the short story is anything special, to tell you the truth. And it
Okay.
really, written in 1940, it has nothing to do with the Cold War or any of that.
Okay. Interesting.
So the ambassador arrives, he's accidentally shot and killed, and then he gets revived, and that's basically it.
That's the story.
That's most of the story. There's a little bit of detail in there, but that's pretty much the plot of it.
So yeah, so they're really like creating a new, like they're just taking the basic premise and then adding all this other stuff to it.
Yeah, they're adding all the interesting stuff to it.
Huh.
So I mean, it's not technically original, but it might as well be.
Mhm.
Yeah, I will say though, not that like I've read a lot of novels from this period, but I have read a few. And as it is the case today, although it's getting better with TV and streaming, like the novels were still way far ahead of like the
Oh
films in
yeah,
terms of like cool idea in terms of cool
Mhm.
ideas.
oh yeah, and
Yeah.
I will even say this is really even a novel. It's kind of like a pulp uh story, something you would find in one of the pulps of the period.
Yeah.
Which are there's a lot of enjoyable stories of that, but I feel like the stuff that was deemed worthy of a novel was generally well above the pulp stories.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. In terms of Robert Rise, like Wise, sorry, Rise, um, like would he have just been starting out? I can't remember the trajectory of his career. Like I know where he ended up, but
He
He
had
had
been working for a while. He'd done like The Body Snatcher with Boris Karloff.
oh yeah, okay.
and Curse of the Cat People.
Yep.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Yeah. So this he'd done probably about 10 or so films before this. I mean, this I think was a pretty big production too, because it was like um, almost $1 million budget,
Wow.
and and also I mean like there is some stunt casting with a lot of the reporters, for example. So like all the guys who introduced their names, like Kenneth Pendle and H.V. Kaltenborn and Elmer Davis, were all like legit news anchors.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Um,
okay.
and they certainly got a bunch of military hardware.
mhm.
So I mean, I know the U.S. government liked to show off at this time, but it's not stock footage.
Yeah, yeah. So and I think yeah, Curse of the Cat People I think is Robert Wise's first film, and that was 44. So he'd been working for about 7 years. It's still I guess fairly early in his career, although he did have a very long career, like
Yeah,
stretching all the way to
he has
2000.
one of like the most, yeah, he's got an insane career.
Yeah.
I mean, he edited Citizen Kane, so and
What's that?
he edited Citizen Kane.
Yeah, and I think also maybe probably where he met Bernard Herrmann. But I mean, and I'm just talking about direction too,
Yeah,
which
Yeah,
Kane is like 3 years before Curse of the Cat People.
yeah. I mean, and then of course the fallout because of him working for the studio on Magnificent Ambersons.
Mhm.
oh, to cut how they want to cut it. Uh-huh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know what? Magnificent Ambersons is still a good film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what are you supposed to do? It's your job, right? Like you don't even feel like, okay, well, I don't know. He's not paying my check, so
Mhm.
I understand. I mean, I understand Wells' point of view too.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, both those guys were doing the best they could.
Yeah. And like you said, you still like what we have for Magnificent Ampersand is still pretty magnificent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I mean, this is one of his big films
Yeah.
that he's known for. I mean, it's not as big as Sound of Music and West Side Story, but it certainly feathered his cap.
Yeah.
It would explain how he got Andromeda's Strain.
And then Star Trek the Motion Picture.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he had a 30-year career, almost 40 years.
Oh, well, his last film as director is listed as being in the year 2000.
Wow.
What?
And it's also like not a massive gap between like the second to last. So like Star Trek the Motion Picture actually was, I guess, like his third to last film, and then that's 79. He did Rooftops in 89, and then in 2000, A Storm in Summer, which is a TV movie, but even still, it's like for directing. that is like 56-year career. Like that's solid even for nowadays. Like not Spielberg doesn't have that yet. So
Yeah.
No, but he will.
he will.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine he will, but
Yeah, he's unstoppable.
yeah.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking at his career here, his filmography. I mean, he had the setup beforehand, and I feel like doing some noir before, along with Curse of the Cat People, probably sets him up well for the day the Earth stood still and how he filmed this film.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a chameleon director though. Like his style can change drastically. Like the setup is like a classic film noir. And in some ways, like the cinematography is pretty film noir-esque, but I think a lot of films are like that at this time. Not just film noir.
I mean,
But
it's flashy. It's not flashy. It's efficient.
Yeah. And I think that's
it's good. It's well composed, and I'm not gonna take anything away from it. But it's not. He's not doing these big elaborate camera moves.
No, and I think his films also like I haven't seen a lot of them, but we've mentioned Andromeda Strain, West Side Story, Sound of Music,
The Haunting.
I was going to say, yeah, The Haunting, Run Silent, Run Deep,
The Sand Pebbles.
The Sand Pebbles, which I think was nominated for Best Picture. I think he also, even with these kind of high concepts or big, kind of epic sort of films, or the scale of the films are like large, I think he does have a really good eye or interest, at least, in procedures. And really kind of nailing down the details of doing a specific thing or how something would be handled, and then also giving like little moments to individuals. So like like you said, it's a trigger happy like private that kind of accidentally shoots Klaatu. It's not necessarily that people are blundering, or the military is a bunch of idiots, and they probably, I don't know if they would have released that at this time, so close to World War II, or after World War II, even with that. But having it be kind of like a human flaw, which does tie in pretty nicely with the movie. And even when Klaatu is like finishing the equation on Sam Jeffy's like blackboard, the cleaning lady comes in and he says, "Don't erase that." He'll want to see that. Like just little asides and little moments like that, I think go really, really far in kind of like grounding the scale of like these movies. When he does do a lot of big movies, like again, Star Trek, Andromeda Strain. This Sand Pebbles is a long ass movie.
Yes, it is.
But I like that he keeps it like that. And again, like you said, the pacing of this it's amazing how quickly it hits the ground with this, and background as an editor, I think definitely helps with keeping that moving along, even when you could just easily get caught up in the spectacle of everything. It's kind of, I want to get to what I think the heart of the story is.
Or just get caught up in like the plotting, like with like the military stuff, like he's always bringing it back to how this alien is interacting and observing humans, and like like the religious connections are like all there, because like there is like a part in the Gospels where Jesus mentions like, you won't understand like what I'm saying unless you take the point of view of a child, right? Like you have to be more of an innocent mind, and like in this film, like his like most like encouraging interaction is with someone who is young, and every time he meets an adult, it's either like someone is like busting his balls, or about like writing on the board or whatever, or they're trying to kill him, or 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 they're like complaining about him for whatever, like being talked about too much. And yeah, so like like I'm not sure like yeah, like I'm not sure like though like if there's much thought in terms of like what is the alternative to like how geopolitics are going around at this time. Like maybe it's just to, not to fully demilitarize because I don't know if that's realistic, but
Hmm.
like maybe it's to, try to just find common ground. Like, and yeah, like I'm not sure like at this point in time before the Korean War, like what was the thinking? Like, like how much should we be investing in military and um but yeah, like I know afterwards, like it kind of ramped up, but yeah, like it's a weird time period because I think U.S. was still occupying Japan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or just kind of starting to release it at that time, anyhow. I
yeah,
don't know if
Well,
they're, yeah. I mean, they
and
had a presence there, but I don't know if they were occupying it per se.
well,
right, yeah,
and also with the Korean War, I forget if it was Marshall or MacArthur, I think, but who basically said, I want like 30 A bombs to just bomb the hell out of North Korea for this. So I can see that idea kind of like sneaking into the screenplay, and obviously,
yeah, right,
that request was not granted, but it does kind of hinge on that idea of nuclear power.
yeah,
But on the flip side, this is also kind of an outlier in that the scientist is kind of the closest thing to the ideal person. So when he
yeah,
asks Billy or Bobby or whatever the hell his name is, who is the greatest living
oh,
person?
yeah, like who's the smartest guy or whatever, right? Yeah,
Yeah, and I
Hmm.
think also like Sam Jaffe's portrayal, he is also very childlike in a lot of his demeanor, like his hair is mussed, and it is
yeah,
I wonder if that's an Einstein reference.
Einstein
yeah.
reference.
I was thinking that too. Yeah,
Yeah, but I think also, there's a certain degree of playfulness there, but there's also like a curiosity, and with that a general open mind
yeah,
of it, and acknowledging of like
Hmm.
responsibility, as opposed to anyone who thinks that they have all the answers. But I also feel that that's undermined by Klaatu's speech, where he talks about how they developed the rule of law and like their whole system, and it just, I think, like you pointed out, Cody, it sounds very fascistic, or at least authoritarian, where it's like, okay, well then we give all the power to robots like Gort to punish those who step out of line. But
Who watches
yeah,
The Watchmen?
yeah, exactly.
well, yeah, like it's sort of like I wouldn't say it's like overtly fascistic, but it's basically like it's like it could easily lead to that, but not in the sense that like humans or other living beings would do it. It's just like, well, what if the robots deem everyone to be dangerous, right?
Hmm.
Because
But
yeah, like I do see fascist as being more in like more of like an irrational bent, like whereas this is kind of like a Doctor Strangelove type of scenario where it's like, yeah, we think we're doing the most rational thing, but it's actually very irrational and it's going to fuck us over. Um, whereas
but
like yeah, like yeah, like this sort of like unless there's some easy way to like turn them off or something, but
but it's
again,
also,
that just ask a lot of questions. Yeah,
yeah, and like what he's sort of describing, though, like it seems like he says, it's not perfect, but it
yeah,
works well. I mean, either fascism or communism or whatever, is that there seems to be an underlying intolerance of different thought, or disagreement.
yeah. Like if I was to pick one of those, it seems to be more like communism in some sense, but it's still totalitarianism
Yeah.
in some form. It's just because their whole idea is that we've decided to not fight each other. Like our planets are not going to fight each other, but if someone gets out of line, then these robots will come and take them out.
Hmm.
And we've all agreed that that's how we want to do it, right? Um, and in some ways, that is kind of how it works. Like now, like if we think of ourselves as not being in tribes anymore, right? Like if we think of our little communities as basically saying, yeah, we want to pursue happiness and some moderate forms of success, and if someone steps out of line, we'll call the cops, right? But in terms of like interplanetary or geopolitics, it doesn't really scale in the in the same way, which is why I think later science fiction, and I'm sure like even the novels at this time, all the ones I've read weren't really like social science types, but like Ursula K. Le Guin, she has a book called Dispossessed where she writes about utopia, and like that idea of utopia is like really important to her, but for her, like she never puts on like a positive spin, like what's it actually going to be like. It's always kind of like this goal that you strive towards, but there's no positive definition of it, because anytime it becomes positive, it could turn to totalitarianism, if that makes sense. So
Mhm.
so her book Dispossessed basically is like back and forth between like utopia, dystopia, to kind of show a dialectic. And I think that in this film, like ideally you would have had something like that, like have it to be a bit more vague. Because as soon as he says like what their situation is like, everyone on Earth will be like, well, I don't know
Like
if I want
that.
to give, yeah, like I don't know if I want to give up all of my power to like a robot, like, or to like a race of robots. Like I think,
Mhm.
like, yeah, like because we could seemingly, put the foot off the gas in terms of arms race, in terms of escalating tensions, but then we don't, but then there's, but we don't want to go the other way. We're completely defenseless, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, against whoever decides what counts as aggression, and
yeah,
also
and like, and not to be a wet blanket, but like or like to be like a cynical realist person, but like every country that has had a nuke and has taken it down, like Ukraine is a good example. Like they had nukes in '93, and post-Soviet Union and United States, helped them dismantle it. And look where Ukraine is now. Uh,
well,
pa Pakistan has nukes, Iran doesn't. Like there's kind of like it's not like, I'm not trying to say like I think we should all like be like suiting up. Like I live in Canada, we don't have a lot of military, so um, but like I do think like there wasn't much thought on the flip side of what they were getting
mhm.
at.
Yeah,
Even though
and
I ultimately agree with that point of view. Like I ultimately agree with like I think it's better to de-escalate and be more diplomatic. Uh,
yeah, which is a fairly reasonable thing. I think when it sticks to something like a parable. I mean, because
yeah,
ultimately, like the film is kind of more a thought experiment than science fiction, as you noted. That it's like you take a totally objective observer coming to Earth and kind of assessing the situation, like step back and kind of consider things on a more global scale.
yeah,
But again, yeah, like offering that alternative you know, undermines the reasonableness or sensibility of that message. And even like the last thing of join us and live in peace or pursue your present course and face obliteration, like
yeah,
that is kind of a society that gives up liberty in pursuit of security, receives neither. That is ultimately like what, that's a validation, or their society is a validation um, of that idea, and kind of like what you're talking about too, with the de-escalation of like, okay, well, we will give this up in the interest of peace, but then there's these other guys who are hanging on, and then they
yeah,
come in.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
Although I think it is worth pointing out that they are speaking from the place of being the power. I mean, we know how the
Mhm.
United States feels about nuclear proliferation. Uh, I mean, this whatever conglomerate of planets, it actually has much more power than the United States, and they're kind of saying
no, it's true.
we
You're
don't
right.
like your
Yeah,
proliferation.
yeah. No,
So
no, no, no. Yeah, like it is true. Like it's basically saying like we think you guys might be getting nuclear and also being able to shoot those nukes at our planets, and we don't want that to happen.
Mhm.
So we're going to take it out before it happens. So actually, if you think about it, the alien is kind of like the U.S. in this weird, flip-floppy parable. But where I think it works the best is when it actually looks at examples from human history. So when it goes to like again like the veterans graveyard with all the crosses,
Hmm.
and it shows you like the real
Mhm.
downsides to war, right? Like I think that's a really powerful, like that was a powerful image, especially with the kid, being his father being killed in the war, and also then going to like the Lincoln statue where you have like a great example of someone who like basically bucked the trend and ended something that was like really horrible. Like there's cool moments like that in the film, that where I kind of that's where I'm more on board with the ideas. It's just when they verbalize them into such like concrete terms, then it's like, I don't know if that makes too much sense, but whatever. Like, um, but again, like I don't think films or like novels need to provide answers, like unless they're being really cocky about it. But um, like I think it's just good enough to like post some questions and get you thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because even like some of the like my most favorite books that like I might not agree with like the sort of point of view, but I do like that like the ideas were raised. I'm not sure if you guys have read this one. I think Robert has. Moon is a harsh mistress.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, and like it
which
ends
is
with
very
basically
libertarian.
yeah, like so like it's very libertarian, which is not my like I wouldn't say like I skew towards that politically, but like I can appreciate some of the ideas, like where the guy says at the end, like that's where the term there's no such thing as a free lunch game, I believe. Um, where like the guy, like the main character is like, oh, like I'm not sure if we're actually better off after this revolution. Like he's kind of questioning it, even though they were able to liberate themselves from Earth by like shooting gigantic rocks at Earth with like slingshot, which is like a pretty badass idea. Um, like there is this idea where, yeah, like that at the end they actually question the whole. I'm not sure if you took this way, Robert, but like at the end of the novel, like the main character kind of questions their whole pursuit and the whole point of the story and like what everyone went through. But I do think like that's where I really like sci-fi, where they can pose these really interesting questions and they might be political or social or moral or philosophical, but if they don't give like the ultimate answer, like I don't mind that. Like,
No,
and
I
that's why
agree.
and that's why I don't really care for the final end of the film, but I like everything that kind of came up.
Yeah,
You know,
I do like though that he gives his ultimatum and just flies off and leaves whatever happens next up to the viewer.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, that's true.
I was a
Um,
little disappointed that the end didn't have a question mark at it, but it's a classy film, so it's not going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this intergalactic power coming to a developing world is also very Star Trek in a sense.
Hmm.
yes, I was getting that Star Trek vibe as well too. Yeah.
Like First Contact, I think it
But it's
definitely.
almost like
Yes.
it's like on the other end, like it's like we're seeing it on the other, like from the point of view of people who are not in the Federation, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
We're from the point of view of people getting visited by them and
yeah.
like getting told that we're stupid and stuff.
So like Kirk is the red shirt in this case too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I also yeah I do like that idea though of basically taking the spaceman who is from potentially or theoretically an advanced race and kind of making it a fish out of water sort of thing.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Um,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, but I also do kind of wish that like maybe I don't know test his philosophy a little bit. Like, is there a way where they could put his final speech higher up front, like at his first visitation, he
Yeah.
announces that, and then the rest of the film is kind of like maybe him coming around on that, or refining it, or finding like some understanding about his own perspective, in addition to criticizing how the world was at that time. And I think that's maybe what I was hoping or looking for a little bit more than having the movie sort of talk to me and say, here's what you should do. But I do like a lot of the stuff, in between. But
Yeah. Also, like, like, what if, like, okay, so, like, this guy's being sent from a federation of peace planets that have death robots or whatever they're called. And what if, like, so, like, he gets shot twice at some point, and then Gork is going to kill the whole planet, basically,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So, like, what if, and then he tells her, say this phrase to Gork
Yep.
or whatever his name is, and, like, what if she messed up the order, and then Gork
Yeah.
says, oh,
Okay.
that's not wrong, and then kills her, and then kills everyone, then kills the planet,
Yeah.
and then it's like, oh wow, like, so, like, oh, how'd that guy's mission go? Not really well. Like, the robot,
He got shot.
yeah. So the guy got shot twice, and then the robot
Robot
killed
blew
the
it
whole
up.
planet, and yeah, so now there's no one on that planet that's alive.
So our bad.
Yeah,
It's a Monday.
it's like, oh wow, that was really violent. Yeah, it was really violent. It's a good thing we're like a really peaceful
Yeah.
federation that doesn't kill stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we preserve peace in the galaxy, I guess. No, that is one of my big nitpicks. My big nitpicks of that, of like, if everything is contingent upon like Gort hearing this, maybe have a backup, like, or maybe like,
Yeah, like a
if you
button
have
or something.
if you have a bomb that's going to go off in real life, they make it a lot more difficult to set that bomb off, and they
Yeah.
focus a lot more on easy ways to disarm it. I would like to think that a super intelligent intergalactic race would have found kind of like that same methodology for building their bombs.
hmm But she has faith in Mr. Carpenter.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Well,
it's a religious parable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, she still has to say that to Gore
Yeah.
before he comes back. So
We know what can go wrong. We've
Bad
all seen Army
timing.
of Darkness.
yeah,
What is the Old Testament like? Is it like Sodom and Gomorrah, or like what is it the Old
Yeah.
Testament? Because like
God's
Yeah.
just angry at everybody, and
You
you
know, the
get out of
flood.
line and you're
no,
obliterated.
but is there a part in the Old Testament, I can't remember now, when God is going to kill everyone, and then someone at the last minute tells him something, and then he stops?
I'm
Or
sure.
no?
Well, like
I mean, Abraham.
yeah, Abraham and Isaac but it's kind of like just
Yeah.
kidding.
Oh, you mean his kid, right? You mean like
Yeah.
he's going to
Where he's
murder his
about to
kid,
sacrifice Isaac.
right? Yeah, yeah. Except he's going to do it,
I
and then
mean,
God's like, oh, this guy has a lot of faiths. Okay, last minute, maybe don't kill your own kid. Here's a lamb that you can kill instead. Yeah.
But it's also like not a test of faith. It's just a test of memory. Like
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Well, she has to
repeats
believe
the
him that what he says is actually going to do
I have
something.
to. Okay, but it's like okay.
Yeah,
I have faith
I don't
that
think it
these
actually
words are the
works.
most
Yeah,
ridiculous
I
series of
don't think
syllables.
exactly, and I don't think it works with the Abraham thing because that's more of like an existential, you know, leap
Yeah. I
leap
mean,
type
it's
of
not
thing.
Noah either, but yeah.
It's closer to Noah and Sodom and Gomorrah, except Sodom and Gomorrah, everyone dies except for the guy that escapes. I don't know if there is a. I'm not sure if there is a. I'm not sure if there is one like a direct story. I'm not. I forget a lot of stuff in the Old Testament, so
But I will say, at
it's
least it
definitely
was
not Job.
Patricia Neal who uttered those words, as opposed to Talia Shire from Rocky 2 when he's trying to teach her take it back, do 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 do, and she goes dodi dodi. Like Patricia Neal is just able to nail Klaatu Barada Nikto like on the first try. So at least
Yeah.
props to her for that. But do we want to jump into some more nitpicks?
We can. I've got no more that come to mind.
Okay. So The other one is with shutting off the electricity.
Oh, that was cool. Yeah.
I
Are
really
you
like
gonna
that.
nitpick the things that aren't electrical that were turned off?
Well, I was going to say an outboard motor. I don't know if that would.
The spark plugs are electric.
Robert has a point.
What about Patricia Neal's watch? Like when it comes back on,
That has a point,
it
Robert.
says it
That
must be.
has a point there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think he
Were
does.
there pacemakers back in the day at this time?
I think he does say that like he didn't shut off the electricity for hospitals and
Right.
planes.
Right.
I would
Yes.
imagine pacemakers, iron lungs,
Yeah, good stuff.
the refrigerator, and
They are a people of peace after all.
yeah. I mean, he doesn't go whole hog, but and then also like for a superior race dedicated to peace, like the second Klaatu is told that it's going to be difficult, not impossible. It's like it's really tough to get all the world leaders together
And he's like,
in the
what?
like at once in the time frame that you're talking about, and they immediately starts making threats.
Yeah.
Like, all right, settle down there, Klaatu. Um, Also, if aliens make contact in the U.S. and in D.C. no less, and they don't retaliate after they're shot, maybe the president could actually show up on his own instead of sending an emissary or ambassador and just kind of like say, "Hey, I'm the president. You're an alien. First alien contact we've made. I'm just going to do the courtesy of showing up in person or at least giving a phone call. Like, come on."
Maybe.
What else do you have going on that day? Like,
Who was the president at this time? Was it Eisenhower?
Eisenhower.
No, Truman.
Oh yeah,
Eisenhower was 52 to 60.
okay. Yeah, you're right. Well, okay.
Eisenhower is the one that's a bit more well respected, if I recall.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, but come on, Harry. What else you got going on?
Maybe you're better off sending somebody that is a little bit more smooth and polished than Harry Truman.
But I mean, even still, it's like they're coming to DC specifically. Like,
yeah.
First of all, maybe New York, where you have the United Nations, might be a little bit better for your purposes. But even still, they're showing up in DC, so they know this is the center, at least of the U.S., like the seat of U.S. power. So they have to have some good intelligence or recon on that. And if they're going to DC, then they must know that we have a president. So they might be kind of pissed that the president's not showing up. It's like they know they're being stood up by areas here. Like,
but DC is the seat of nuclear power in the world at that time.
Huh. Right.
All the more reason for him to show up.
True. Yeah.
And then last one I have is too when the doctor who treats Klaatu says Klaatu's arm is healed and their medicine or his medicine is far more advanced. And the doctor says, I don't know whether to get drunk or give up the practice of medicine. I mean, it's just common practice in the 50s of like, well, you can either have a drunk doctor or no doctor.
I still find it funny that you see doctors, like, as they're chatting about, like, science and health, they're, like, smoking cigarettes.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're men of the people. They would still do house calls. They'd get some cardio in.
Well, everybody smoked back then.
I wanted to ask Robert, has there ever been a scientific breakthrough where you've been tempted to say, I don't know whether to get drunk or give up civil engineering?
I don't know, but, AI might make me consider it.
Okay. Do you?
Why? Because it's so good, or?
If that's the case, do you plan on showing up drunk on the job way more often?
I haven't considered it, but now that's the idea.
There you go.
If I could just tell AI to do my job.
How can AI do your job, though? Don't you have to be on site?
Yeah.
Well, it depends. I mean, if I'm in the design phase, it get AI. If I tell it to design a revetment here, it could probably do it.
could
Hey,
it
but
take
wouldn't
full
it-
examples though?
Oh, yeah,
Like, would it
but
know
shouldn't you
how to?
check it? Like, yeah, like
Yeah,
shouldn't you
obviously
check?
you got to check it.
God, you're scaring me,
I
Robert.
mean, I have to check my engineers that I assign tasks to do as well. So I'm sure AI will be just as bad because who knows? It might be faster though.
Well,
It
they're
might be
probably
fun to
using
just
AI.
The AI might actually follow direction.
Well, if you were to like send AI like because like on Twitter it's fun to like just see people post clips of movies and then the comments section invariably like the first one is Grok, what movie is this or what is this scene from? And it gets it so horribly wrong, like so far off base so frequently that it's just hilarious. So I would love to see if you like fed it, some
Yeah,
architectural plans or something and say, what building is this? And just see how wrong it gets. Or something like the
yeah,
Chrysler building. It's like, most likely this is the pyramids.
Oh, yeah, I would just read Wikipedia here while you're bringing that up. Apparently, Frank Lloyd Wright had some input into the design here.
Huh.
yeah.
I will say, when you said the UFO design is seamless, I do appreciate that when it opens up, like
The
the
ramp.
ramp comes down and then
Oh,
the
yeah.
main door opens. When it closes,
That ramp is nice.
it's tough to see,
Yeah.
Yeah.
where those seams are.
Movie magic.
It is.
Newer films it kind of reminds me of, not too much, but a bit of The Arrival, where the sort of the world has to work together. It's sort of implying that type of collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think
I
what
do
else.
like that whatever that device is that the Class 2 represents the Spike Love shoot out of it. I think that's a nice production design.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also a little bit of Independence Day, except that is more of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
let's say, rah-rah, America is the best.
Made by a German director.
Maybe a German director,
It
yeah.
has a golden retriever in it. It's fully American.
Yeah, John Hurt in it. It's fully American.
That's true. And Harvey Firestein.
Yeah.
Oh, I also did want to mention Gort. We could talk a lot about Gort, but if this is like the perfect war machine, Gort does take some time to get going. Like it takes him a bit, Like yeah, sure, he can render a tank like useless in a couple seconds. But if you're going up against like every army in the world, it's going to take a long time for Gort to get the drop on everybody.
Yeah, I think he can do it though.
He does seem pretty invulnerable.
Well, you just run away from Gort. Like, how's he going to get there?
Just bomb where he is, he's stuck in a hole.
Yeah, put him in concrete.
Just dig a big hole, throw him down it.
Mm-hmm.
Gort's done.
There's some design flaws in Gort, and
For what it's worth, they do try encasing the Gort equivalent in the short story.
mm-hmm.
Oh, that's in there. Oh, cool. Nice. That was a good idea. Yeah.
Also want to mention that the poster for this kind of goes against the entire idea of the story.
I would agree.
Yeah. Yeah, the poster looks like Creature from the Black Lagoon or something.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, technically, he does carry the woman at one point, I believe.
The blonde? Who's this blonde woman?
Yeah,
he's
who's the
carrying?
blonde?
I don't know who the blonde woman is.
And
I believe he picked
who's-
up Patricia Neal at one point, though.
Also, whose hand is that covering the earth?
That's a good
Yeah.
question.
But
This
I will say,
This poster's weird.
I will say the title I think does kind of work in context though. Like, that's a long title, but just the idea that like everything is kind of spiraling out of control or constantly in motion, and that it's not the day the Earth held its breath. It's like, things slowed down for a moment. Hopefully to think, find
Yeah.
peace. But no, I like movies where the title takes on some additional significance after seeing that. And I think Farewell to the Master kind of does that too.
Yeah, and I will say that the standing still is kind of hard to put on a poster, so I think
Yeah.
it works really well in context.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, what's the next film, guys?
Yeah, Nat, you have next month's film.
All righty. Well, it is the peak of summer, and so while I normally like to do either a Michael Crichton-esque film or something that involves gratuitous nudity, ideally
Okay.
both, but it's tough to find those. I'm going to pivot, but I am going to go with kind of a blockbuster, and one that also is kind of in line with this, and that I'm surprised it's taken us this long to get to it. But we're going to go with the 1989 James Cameron classic, The Abyss.
Ooh.
Cool.
Now I'm gonna watch that Ocean Gate disaster film on Netflix.
Ooh, well, I've just been rereading Sphere, and while we've already done that, I probably am going to rewatch it. But I'm feeling good for some deep sea diving.
Are we watching the theatrical cut or the extended cut?
We can probably talk about that offline. Whatever is easiest to
I'll
find.
do whatever is
on
available.
Tubi. Yeah.
I'm just pleased to see something with all this practical submarine stuff in it instead of all using CGI.
Mm-hmm. It's been a while since we've seen Ed Harris and Michael Bain, so
Yeah.
Mary Elizabeth Mastriano.
Oh yeah. Let's see, on Disney Plus, I guess they have it, but I don't know what cut it is. That cut is 2 hours 20 minutes, which I think is.
That sounds like a theatrical.
Yeah, I think that's a theatrical.
Well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I hope it looks good.
Have you ever seen it before?
I saw it in theaters when it came out.
I was gonna say this sounds like it has little baby Robert written all over it.
I've only seen like the longer version. So yeah.
I kind of prefer the longer version, but I'm good with either.
I've heard that the other version doesn't make sense. Like you don't know what
it does not. The shorter version, the third act is a mess.
Yeah, like you don't know what the hell's going on at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, well maybe we should go with the longer version then.
We can. I don't have a problem.
Well, someone watch the original and tell us what the first ending is like. I'm not even sure if I can find the original.
Well, the first ending doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's like, oh, they kind of 80 yards in that. They must have done something so we didn't hit the bends that line, did they? But anyhow, yeah. And I'm looking forward to The Abyss. It's been a while. I've been thinking that's one of them we should do.
We've done Leviathan, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've done Leviathan.
Oh my God! Yeah, so we have to do Abyss. So stupid.
We also have to do Deep Star 6.
That was also the other one that I had on my list for a potential candidate, but I figured we can go with some prestige for
all from 1989.
Yep.
And Lords of the Deep, also from 1989.
What was going on then? Like, was there like a bunch of like people getting into subs?
No, James Cameron was doing a submarine movie, and everybody said, "We better beat him to the punch."
Oh yeah. Good job.
Yeah. Anyhow, that should wrap up the episode. If you have questions or comments, you can email us at skyespodcast@gmail.com or leave us a note on Facebook. Also, feel free to share a link on social media. Thanks for listening. We hope you join us next month for The Abyss. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Watch the skies, everywhere. Keep looking. Keep watching the skies.